Welcome to episode 72 of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B. Today's guest is Craig Chavez Jr. Craig is an award-winning serial entrepreneur, creative strategist, and author that specializes in helping working professionals launch profitable businesses and successfully transition into full-time entrepreneurship. Craig Chavez Jr. is a newly published author, entrepreneur, and business coach based out of Columbus, Ohio. His personal mission is to help 1 million people become the entrepreneurs of their lives. He's accomplishing this goal through his online platform and book, Burdens of a Dream. His book, Burdens of a Dream, is his memoir that's all about answering your calling to abandon the status quo, follow the road not taken, and discover the person you're truly meant to become. Craig guides readers through the ups and downs of his journey of entrepreneurship through 33 powerful life lessons. Craig reveals how he transformed from a collegiate athlete into a businessman, left everything behind to serve citizens of a foreign country, and found joy in life after a sudden and unexpected betrayal. Through candid stories and practical advice, he provides the vital spark of hope that will reignite your inner creative genius. And now, Cody B.
Hello, everybody. This is Cody Bateman. Welcome to a brand new episode of our Relationship Marketing Podcast. As usual, very excited about our guest today. I got to tell you, boy, we got to shout out to Bart Ratliff right now, who really lines up some amazing guests for us on this show. And we've got an incredible guy here today. You've already heard his bio, so we're going to get to him in just a second. But as usual, I like to shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you for your ongoing participation in trying to make the world a better place, focusing on positivity, sending out the best version of you to other people in the world, acting on your promptings to reach out in kindness. The inner prompting is who you are. That's that inner voice that speaks to you. You got to act on that inner voice, and you got to nourish it. You got to train it. You got to teach it, and you got to read, and you got to listen, and you got to do things that enhance that inner voice, part of which is acting on your outer promptings, which is reaching out in kindness to others. Every time you act on an outer prompting and reach out in kindness to other people, it will activate the inner voice. So as long as you're being kind to other people and you're thanking other people and you're sharing with other people, it activates the best version of who you are inside. And today we have a guest on that we're really going to talk a lot about that inner voice, becoming the best version of you. So without further ado, Mr. Craig Chavez Jr., how you doing, my friend? Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Cody. Thanks for having me on today. I'm really excited to share my message and collaborate on your platform. So thanks for having me on.
Well, we're excited. I love what you're doing out there. I was on your website a little bit earlier today, just looking at some of the cool things that you're doing. Why don't you just kind of give us a quick rundown? Like I said, we have a little introduction of you, or people have heard about you, the virtual business coach you are, best-selling author of the book titled Burdens of a Dream. You help entrepreneurs. So just tell us a little bit about your passion and how you got into this.
Yeah, so my journey to where I'm at in life has been anything but linear and anything but ordinary. And so what I do today is that I'm a business coach that specializes in helping working professionals launch profitable businesses and successfully transition into full-time entrepreneurship. And I like to say that, like, yes, I'm a serial entrepreneur, but like, I feel that like I'm no longer an entrepreneur of things. It's more about being an entrepreneur of people. Because one of my philosophies and my personal mission is to help 1 million people to become the entrepreneurs of their lives. And so for me, entrepreneurship is a journey, and it's not just about money. It's not just about creating a business. It's about living with purpose, with passion, with integrity, and leaving a positive impact. And so I never could have imagined that I would have arrived at this position in my life. Because I'm just a kid from humble beginnings. I mean, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. Didn't grow up with a lot. And I just remember growing up, my father moved around a lot. And so I got used to change and being uplifted and uprooted and kind of having to create a new version of myself every time I moved to a different area. I went to multiple high schools, but what kept me grounded was athletics. And I was a really good athlete, and I got the opportunity to play Division I football at Sanford University in Birmingham, Alabama. And my sophomore year, I finally got the call from my coach to start at punt returner. And in that first game where I got the opportunity, I tore my hamstring. And so that really my playing career abruptly. And so, as being a young man, only identifying in athletics, that was devastating. And I immediately went into a spiral of depression. But, you mentioned relationships on your website, which is super key. And I just happened to have a really strong relationship with my Spanish professor. And she forced me to actually apply to study abroad in Costa Rica, which I didn't think would be that impactful. But having that opportunity to study abroad after my athletic playing career really opened my mind to the world and to the possibilities of living and working abroad in other countries. And I was so motivated by that experience. I came back, switched my major to Spanish and international business, started a little DJing company on campus, and used those proceeds to go to Spain for 6 months the next year. And that really locked me into this entrepreneurial journey that I'm on right now. Finished up undergrad, got my MBA quickly, and I was interviewing for jobs in New York and San Francisco, but I just wasn't feeling corporate America. But I ran into a Peace Corps recruiter, and she liked my background and said I should apply to serve in the Peace Corps. I did it just to kind of, put my name out there, and I got the awesome opportunity to serve in Peru as an economic development consultant. And that was such a life-changing experience. I fell in love with the people, fell in love with the culture. I just saw a great opportunity to possibly start a business overseas. And so after I finished the Peace Corps service, I happened to launch one of Peru's first branded craft distilleries by myself. And that whole process of leaving the US, serving in the Peace Corps, and following my dream to open up a business is what my book, Burdens of a Dream, is all about. Unfortunately, as a business owner yourself, things don't go as planned. And unfortunately, I lost my distillery due to some corruption and bad decisions that I made as a young entrepreneur. And ultimately, I found myself moving back to the US, getting into blockchain, starting some businesses on the East Coast. But after I did that, I realized that I had accumulated a lot of knowledge. And I kind of graduated in my entrepreneurial growth from becoming an entrepreneur of things to being an entrepreneur of people. And once I realized I had some knowledge that was valuable, I figured transitioning into business coaching would be a higher calling. And once that happened, I couldn't look back. And that's how I got to this point in life where I'm at right now.
I got to tell you, it sounds almost exhaustive. I mean, you went from, the whole football experience to doing a lot of stuff really fast. I mean, it sounds like good crime. You did the overseas thing, did the Peace Corps thing, wow. It's like, you better hang on, man. Craig's in town. He's moving and shaking and doing stuff. So it's pretty impressive. Now, you mentioned a lot of things in there. I could go in a lot of directions right now, but you mentioned when you came back, you got into blockchain. So talk to me a little bit about what do you mean by that? How did you get into blockchain? What'd you do?
So when I was traveling around the world in the Peace Corps with the distillery, I realized that there was a big problem with the way travel was the accessibility to travel. Us as Westerners, like, our passport is one of the most viable passports. The US passport, you can get to 170 countries visa free. But if you're from a brown country, or maybe from the East, or from Africa, or a country like that, it's really difficult for you to travel. And I realized that travel shouldn't be based upon where you're born. It should be about who you are. And so blockchain, to me, offered the perfect technology to solve this problem, because blockchain is essentially a digitalized ledger of records. And so you can apply this technology to multiple use cases. And the most popular is Bitcoin. And so basically what I helped to do is I created one of the world's first travel visa processing platforms leveraged by blockchain. So essentially I sold this platform to embassies where they could use blockchain to securely screen travelers leveraging the blockchain technology so that they could process visas quicker, then also focus on the true threats, which were people with potentially a criminal background. And so Visa Jump was my startup that was leveraging blockchain in DC.
What was it called?
Visa Jump.
Visa Jump. So are you a programmer?
No, I'm just a creative. And that's what I believe entrepreneurship is all about, is kind of like manifesting your creativity through business. And so I think when people come up with great ideas, great concepts, they could become entrepreneurs if they build the right team around them. And that was one of the flaws with Visa Jump, is that me not being technologically sound, that was one of my weak links when I was building my team. And I was dependent upon like tech programmers, coders to make this product a reality.
So what happened to Visa Chain?
So what happened to Visa Jump was policy.
Visa Jump. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Visa Jump. Yeah.
So in 2017, one of my beta testing clients was the Embassy of Turkey. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a massive coup in 2017 in Turkey. And so basically, after that happened, they banned all Westerners from traveling to the country. And so even though there was this massive multi-billion-dollar market to help process travel visas quicker and more securely, at the end of the day, geopolitics reigned supreme in that arena. So it didn't matter what type of technology you want to offer. You can't solve the political aspects that are above your head. And so after getting a little bit of funding, I had to tank Visa Jump because I couldn't solve that problem.
So you've been through successes, you've been through failures. This was, you know, and again, I use that word failure very lightly because I don't really believe in the word. I'm sure you don't either. You know, a lot of people use that. It's an experience, certainly an experience. And one of the interesting thing about that is that was an experience that that ended a potentially fantastic opportunity for you, and it kind of got tanked with things out of your control, right? I mean, it was out of control. Now, I want to, you know, ask that question and have you respond to our listeners, because a lot of times things happen to us outside of our control that devastate us. I mean, that really smack us upside the head and knock us off the field. Like, you know, your hamstring, you know, it's just something that happened and not really. I mean, how is it that you have punt returners that go for years and years and years without injury, and you know, first couple of times you go to do a punt return, you pull your hamstring, and a career? You know, that's potentially an unexpected thing. You know, this incredible business experience. I'm sorry, what's called Visa Jump. With Visa Jump, things outside of your control did that. And a lot of our listeners, you know, we all go through experiences where things outside of our control will smack us upside the head and knock us down.
Yeah.
What do you say to all of us folks?
So when you go back to that word failure, it's a word that breaks down so many people before they begin. And actually, there's a chapter in my book that's entitled Fail. And it's an acronym for first attempt in learning. And once I realized that failure was just a part of the process of life, and that if I looked at all my experiences as a learning experience, I didn't take the outcomes or the negative, you know, circumstances poorly. And so for me, it's like, I really resonated with one of your quotes where you talk about, like, you know, everything kind of starts with you. And I realized that, like, in order to see external results, you have to do the deep inner work. And like the inner work, the mental work, that's the only thing that you can control, if you can control it. Because most of us are human. Like, we'll probably never be able to control ourselves 100% because that's the human experience. We have emotions and we just have to acknowledge that. But there's a major difference between reacting and responding. So like when something negative happens to most people, they tend to react. And that's where they let their emotions take over, the reptilian brain, the fight, flight, or freeze take over. And it really jacks them up and prevents them from making a really wise and positive decision. Whereas if you kind of pause and you respond, you come from more of a position of power and you're able to reason and make a more beneficial decision that's going to provide a more positive outcome. So to kind of like bring this and pack this all together, like when I get hit with negative circumstances, I just ask myself, like, what can I learn from this experience and how can I move forward? Because at the end of the day, there's just so many things that are out of my control, and I'd be wasting my time trying to control things that I just can't.
Yeah. So relative to that, you have a book titled Burdens of a Dream. So what are the burdens?
this was just kind of a title that came to me immediately after I had to close my business, because I realized that whenever you step out on faith to manifest your dream into reality, like there's a cost to doing so. And so the word burdens is kind of a symbolic word for costs, because like nothing in life is free. And there's just, I realize like in the entrepreneurial world, there's a lot of misnomers and there's a lot of propaganda that, you know, when you go out and start a business, it's going to be all fun and hunky-dory and you're going to be a millionaire overnight and you're going to have the Lamborghini, you're going to have the life on the beach and whatnot. But then in all actuality, like when you go out into this entrepreneurial journey, when you try to create this dream, it's actually 10 times more difficult than you can ever imagine. But that's the risk and reward of becoming an entrepreneur. You're paying costs that the average person doesn't pay so that you can live a life that most people don't live. And so like there's a major burden to doing so. But if you're willing to bear that burden with intention and purpose and integrity, you know, you're going to get a reward for doing so. And so that's why I entitled the book Burdens of a Dream, because I wanted people to understand that there's a cost associated with stepping out on faith to manifest whatever dream we have into reality.
Where can our listeners find a copy of your book?
They can find it on any major website, including Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but they can also go to my website, www.burdensofadream.com, and get an easily accessible link to purchase a copy of the book.
Okay, excellent. Burdens of a Dream. It is a great title. Very, very interesting. So you mentioned that you want part of your mission is to help 1 million people become successful entrepreneurs. Did I get that right?
Yeah, like the personal, like what I do in my work is I help people transition from full-time work into entrepreneurship. But the personal mission that I have, which I feel is my calling, is to help 1 million people to become the entrepreneurs of their lives.
Okay, so I want to ask specifically on that. I always like, you know, we're really big on finding your why. I mean, I have a big why behind what we do at Send Out Cards. I have a big why behind doing this show. So what is your why behind what's the significance of 1 million? What's the why behind 1 million entrepreneurs?
So the why isn't necessarily behind the 1 million, but my big why is the ability to live life on your terms. And that's because what I found through business is not necessarily like the money that is is so attractive. It's the ability to have control of your time. And so that's why I mentioned it's about becoming the entrepreneur of your life, because ultimately a business is a vehicle that helps you to live life on your terms if you build it the right way. So that's why I help people to build businesses that work for them so that they can free up their time to live life as they please. But also on the inverse, we all know that not everybody can necessarily create a business. Not everybody's meant to be a business owner or an entrepreneur. But if you're somebody who goes into their 9 to 5 or into their job with purpose and intention, and you have consciously chosen this job or this occupation, I think that's just as powerful. My thing is that I've just seen so many people just kind of meander and wander through life without purpose, without intention. It's kind of like there's a lot of the living dead out there. And just clocking in to get a check, to me, isn't living. But if that's something that you deeply desire to do, A-okay. Or on the inverse, if you want to be somebody who wants to create a business and own a business, that's just as powerful. As long as you're living your life with purpose and intention, that's what people should be doing.
Okay, now, don't you think though? I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate just for a second here, and keep in mind, you know, I'm an entrepreneurial coach as well, and you know, we train and teach hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs to run their own businesses. I'm a firm believer in the entrepreneurial life. However, like you said, burdens of a dream. I mean, there are burdens to entrepreneurialism that sometimes they can be pretty overwhelming. And so when it's interesting because we see all this stuff about entrepreneurialism and selling the concept of entrepreneurialism. Don't you find sometimes that we oversell it? Be an
Oh, definitely.
entrepreneur and control your life. Really control your life. Have time freedom. Really, does an entrepreneur really have time freedom? I mean, come on. Those kind of things. I mean, what do you say to that?
So I say to that, get some systems and processes in your business, because a lot of entrepreneurs create jobs and not businesses, which are, to me, I differentiate between the two. Because for me, a business has some systems and processes and can work whether you're there in the flesh or not. Whereas like a job is something you have to be there 24/7, 365, which was one of the reasons why my distillery failed, was because if I wasn't there 24/7, 365, it didn't work. And so that was one of the failures that I had to learn myself, because I was micromanaging everything. I was a control freak, and that blinded me from seeing some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes that ultimately sunk my ship. But I do 100% agree with you that like people oversell the sexiness of entrepreneurship. And for me, it's like, it's a calling. It is a lifestyle. But if you've consciously chosen to do so, that work, that 15-hour, 16-hour day, it doesn't feel like work. And I'm sure whatever you're doing with your business doesn't feel like work, because it's some higher calling or higher purpose that is driving you beyond, the normalcy of what people can understand. And so that's how I kind of answer that question.
So one of the bullet points to offering your products and services says, you talk about why so many people fail to find their purpose. I mean, I think we could spend 2 hours on that question alone. Why do so? So what is your answer to that? Why do so many people fail at their purpose?
They stay in their comfort zone. And so, as you kind of have seen from my life journey, I did the complete opposite. I was completely uncomfortable. And some of it was by choice, some of it was by just nurture, because I had to move around a lot as a kid. So I got used to being uprooted. I left my home state to go down to Alabama, where I knew nobody, to play football. Then I decided to go study abroad multiple times. Then, like, my first job after grad school was going to South America. So I constantly subjected myself to the fire and the rigors of life. I didn't stay in a box. And by experimenting and failing fast and having really deep life experiences in a very short amount of time, I was able to eliminate what I wanted to do and what I did not want to do. And so I constantly ask myself these questions, who do I want to be? Who do I not want to be? What do I want to do? What do I not want to do? What is my why? How am I going to get there? And I constantly kept doing this. And ultimately, I came down to what I'm doing right now, which is business coaching. And so I just think it's trial and error. And I don't think most people actively and purposely go out and experiment with their life to find out what they're meant to do.
So while you're in the process of doing that, you also talk about hidden traps and identifying hidden traps. So I was really intrigued by that. So what are because again, we hear a lot, hey, find your purpose, go trial and error, do your thing, find out exactly who you are. Once you kind of get to what makes you happy and you start pursuing that, you're saying there's hidden traps. What are they?
Well, for me, it comes in like subtle warning signs. That's another chapter in my book, subtle warning signs. And going back to my distillery, there was a bunch of things that were going wrong, going south, that I was oblivious to because my ego got in the way. And so I constantly kept ignoring like the obvious, like when I was, signing contracts or, or working too long, when I was approaching burnout, some of my ego got in the way. Now, I think a lot of these subtle traps, like there's not just one subtle trap, but I think one of the biggest ones is our own ego. And when we don't listen to kind of our gut that's telling us that this might not be the right decision, but we try to ignore that and go for it anyways, I think a lot of, bad things can happen. So it's a lot of tapping into your intuition and kind of being able to put things together that aren't necessarily obvious. And that's why I say they're hidden traps, because you have to be very, very observant, which most people are not.
Wow, very good stuff. We are listening to Craig Chavis. He is the author of Burdens of a Dream. He also has some online courses that go along with that. And so just coming back, so Craig, you've like you've been around, you do live speeches, plus you do, like with this pandemic going on, obviously you're doing a lot of online stuff right now. What do you enjoy most? I mean, what gives you the most sense of fulfillment?
I would say seeing somebody's light sparkle. And what I mean is that when you see somebody who's kind of like in a pit, in a rut, like they know they're not happy, they know they're not where they want to be. And then you see something in their mind just like click, like, wow, I actually do have the power to intentionally create the life that I want to live. And so I just get a real joy out of helping people to accomplish their life goals through business. And I think why that is because I've recognized that like I can't stand the word self-made. Like I would not be where I am in this position if it wasn't for people who breathe life into me as well. Like I have mentors, I have coaches that I answer to. And so being able to pay that experience forward to other people is what, keeps my lights on. And I love it. And it just doesn't feel like work to me.
So we can go to creativecraig.com, which is very creatively spelled, creativecraig.com. It's CRE, the number 8, IVE Craig, CRAIG.com, creativecraig.com. You can get access to a lot of his information on there. You're an inspiration, my friend. It's fun to watch you. You got great energy. Love what you're doing. This whole concept of helping entrepreneurs to live their dreams, to find out what their true purpose is. At the end of the day, you have coached and consulted, I don't know, lots of people, hundreds if not thousands of people. Is there a common theme? Do you find a common theme in people's purpose? And what is it?
That's a really great question. I would say that the common theme in people's purpose is that they don't know what their purpose is.
Okay.
I'm a reverse engineer, but there's another common theme is that like regret is something that is not a pill people want to swallow. And it doesn't matter what age, what country, what language, what religion people have. A lot of people have these regrets because they're like, man, I wish I would have decided to travel, or I wish I would have decided to get my graduate degree, or I wish I would have decided to do X, Y, or Z. And I think that's a common thread I've seen is that a lot of people have regrets. But the people who have quote unquote found their purpose or who are on their purpose, because purpose changes. Like I said, my purpose, in Latin America was to serve in the Peace Corps and start a business. It's constantly evolving. I think we're always evolving as people. But people who are on that path of purpose, they have no regrets. Or people who are kind of like those living dead that are more so wandering and just letting life blow them and push them, astray. They're the ones that do have regrets. And that's what I've kind of seen throughout my tenure.
Don't you find that a lot of times, because we work with people who try to find their purpose and live their dreams and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I've noticed over the years, it's really interesting to me because at the end of the day, our purposes and our dreams really come down to one core thing that it seems like every personality has, and that is we all want to somehow be remembered. We want to make a difference. And it's like it's almost every dream I see or purpose I see has something to do with making a difference. It's in all and there's a myriad of ways that you can make a difference in other people's lives. But doesn't it really come down to that? It comes down to wanting to be recognized, wanting to be significant, wanting to make a difference.
I 100% agree. And I think that's been part of my evolution because when I started on this entrepreneurial journey, it was about the money and the fame and the glitz and the glamour and being recognized and having all these followers and whatnot. But after getting knocked upside my head a couple of times, I realized that it's all that's a byproduct. Like it's really about creating value and making this world a better place. Because it goes back to my anti-self-made methodology. It's like I wouldn't be here if other people didn't help me. And it's like as I grow older and as I soon hope to have a family and kids. I don't want them to go through what I went through. And so part of that is paying forward my legacy and passing down something to my family so that they can live a better life than what I did. And so I think once you get out of the me mindset and you graduate to the we mindset, everything that you said just comes naturally.
It's kind of funny. I have a neighbor that lives next door, has a son grew up there, and he's an adult now, and he's in a sales position, and he's doing really well. He's young. He's probably 23, 24 years old, doing really, really, really well. And with that success, he's gotten a little cocky, you know. So it's funny. My wife said to me the other day, she says, yeah, I ran into so-and-so, and yeah, he's just changed, man. He used to be such a cool, nice kid. Now he's just super cocky. And I just, without even thinking about it, says, oh, it's all right. Life will kick his teeth in, and then he'll come back to reality. And that's, but it does. It happens to all of us. You know, we get ambitious. We jump out there and bust our butts, work as hard as we can. We have some success. We do like the recognition. We like the accolades, you know, and it is cool up front. And sometimes, like you said, ego is one of those hidden traps. It kind of jumps in our way, but life does it's got a great left hook, man. Life has a great left hook, because it'll smack you, you know?
And well, the funny thing about that, so going back to the distillery, how I got it off the ground was that I launched a crowdfunding campaign. And I thought my network would be good enough for me to raise the capital for that. But I immediately realized that my personal network was insufficient. So how I got the money necessary is that I cold called every Black-owned distillery in the US. I got a hold of two people. One guy thought I was crazy, but then this other guy based out of Louisville, Kentucky, said, Craig, I don't know about this, but I think this would be a great learning experience for you. Here's 5 figures worth of money. Go and see what happens. And it was just kind of like insane how this guy knew that I probably wasn't going to last too long with my business venture, but he was with me to coach me and mentor me through the process. But he understood that this learning experience that I was going to go through was going to be so beneficial and so pivotal to my entrepreneurial growth. And little did I know that I would be writing a book about it and be coaching around that experience that I had. And so life is the ultimate teacher. And there's no coincidence why they call schools universities, because like the universe is the most powerful teacher out there. But if you're one of these people who are going to subject yourself to life and, you know, take risks, it'll expedite your learning so quickly. And so I'm really thankful for these life experiences.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. So listen, I always like to close our podcast by just giving you the floor. You know, you've been confined to all my questions this whole time. So I like to just end by, it's just the floor is yours. Anything that you would like to share, any message of inspiration to our audience. Keep in mind, you're listening to people that are really into relationship marketing. They're very, very well disciplined and trained on the concept that relationship marketing is about the first word, not the second. Relationship marketing is all about relationships. And if you nurture relationships the right way, the marketing side takes care of itself. And those are the philosophies that we live by around here. What you send out is what you get back. Act on your promptings, reach out in kindness. So that's your audience. That's who you're listening to. Any words of wisdom, counsel, stories to close us out? Go ahead.
2 main things. One of the things that one of my mentors told me that's always resonated is he says, time is gold and money is silver. And I never really understood what he was saying. But what he said is like, time is the most precious resource that you have. And money comes and goes. We all know that. But as long as you're using your time with purpose and intention, and you want to leave a positive impact and legacy on this world, leverage your time to its highest use and you'll get there. And then the last thing to tie into this relationship marketing is that this world that we live in, it's a man-made world. And if you understand that concept, you will also understand this. Like if you're ever short on any resource, that means you're short on people. And so whether it is money, whether it is knowledge, whether it's advice, any resource that you're short on, that means you need to add more people to your network. Because if you need anything, you should be able to call somebody to grant you access to whatever that resource is. And yeah, those are kind of like my two little nuggets of wisdom for your
But I love it. I love it. I love both of those. That last, the network is your resource, and we all need to utilize that in a better way. And part of utilizing your network is to be the phone call that someone's going to make. Be the person that someone's going to call. Be in a position where you're there to help people all the time, and what you send out is what comes back. And so there's times when you will need the help and the assistance and whatnot, but always be in a place where you can be a help to people. And then when you need it, they're there for you. And it's great stuff. So listen, Craig, keep doing what you're doing, man. This is great stuff. We'd love to have you participate more in what we're doing. We do fun events all over the world. It's kind of changed now. Doing it virtually right now, but we have a lot of fun. I mean, we got a big relationship marketing grand summit coming up in September, where we have a lot of speakers come in and talk about this concept. And then I have the business send out cards, where we talk a lot about promptings, and there's just a lot of great messaging out there. We live in a crazy world, man. We live in a crazy world. It's just, and we gotta all band together to rally around this thing called kindness, and just people, be accepting, loving people. And I think that's so important for all of us. It's part of what your message is, and appreciate it so much. So thank you, my friend.
Oh, thanks again. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but thanks again for having me on, Cody. I really appreciate it.
All righty, there you have it, everybody. Craig Chavis, and again, Burdens of a Dream. He's also got some online courses available. You can visit him at creativecraig.com, CRE 8IVECRAIG, creativecraig.com. And we appreciate you being with us. Thanks, everybody, and keep coming, man, because we got people coming on in. We're just going to keep the message going. So take care, everybody.
Enjoyed this episode of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B, be sure to subscribe to the show and leave a review so that together we can get this message, The Power of Human Connection, out to the world. You can find Cody's new book, The Power of Human Connection, on Amazon or the Send Out Cards gift store.